Okay guys, so it's the next day and it was in a bag overnight. Even though it's still wet, we're going to proceed and we're going to make our lines on there. It is much easier when it's drier, but you can totally do it when it's a little bit moist. I want to make my lines like this, making sure to look at my pumpkin to see how the lines are on the pumpkin. They're pretty close together. And you can always redraw your lines in later. Okay, so now we're going to cut out our lid. I'm going to draw a line around the edge first where I want to cut. And make sure if you want to put a candle in there, you cut it big enough so where your candle can fit in there. Mine's kind of small, so I don't know if it'll work, but I'm still going to cut a nice large lid. And then when you cut your lines, this tool is probably going to be the best one to cut your lines. You can still use a paper clip, but my clay is pretty wet, so I want to make sure I'm cutting nice and even lines. Now, you also want to cut in at an angle. You don't want to cut straight down. If you cut straight down, your lid will fall in. So make sure your knife is at an angle when you cut your lid. And just go very slowly. Cut nice clean lines. Okay, now I've cut all the way around my whole edge. It's a good idea to make like a mark right here so you know how your lid fits back on, because sometimes it gets confusing. So that's where my lid's going to fit back on. I'm going to stick my knife in here, pull my lid up. Now, you can clean these edges off a little bit, but you really don't want to mess with these edges because you want your lid to fit back on there nice and evenly. Alright, if you are going to clean your edges, just bring your knife along a little bit like this. And you can do a little bit with your fingers. Clean it off a little bit like that, and then that way your candle would fit in better. Some of you will have thicker walls, so you might have to clean it more. Alright, to make your stem, you're just going to grab a little chunk of clay, roll it, and make it look like a little pumpkin stem. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little bit funky because no stems are really perfect. And then we're going to score and slip that right on there. Alright, you guys, remember to score and slip well so your pieces stay on. Texturizing your surfaces. Nice and rough. And then add your slip there, and then push and twist. And then we can clean up those edges. Alright, when you're ready to put your face on your pumpkin, make sure you look for the best side for the front. So twist it around, look where your face would look the best, like if you were going to carve a real pumpkin. I'm going to go with like right here. And then make sure you draw it on. If you're going to put a candle in your pumpkin, we'll draw it on first. It doesn't have to look perfect, but you want to know where you're cutting so everything fits. If you're going to put a candle on the bottom, make sure your mouth is up a little bit so you can see. You can add a little tooth in there. And give him one more tooth right here. And a big smile. And you know, you can squeeze a little nose in here too. Alright, when you're cutting your eyes and nose and mouth, now you're not going to go at an angle. You're going to cut straight in because you want your holes to be nice and big on the inside. Cutting all the way down to the edge. Again, going really slow. You probably are going to want to use a knife for this one if your clay's wet. If your clay's a little bit drier, you could probably use a paper clip or toothpick. Now, this one might not come out that easily because my clay's wet. Well, it doesn't want to come out. So sometimes they'll come out easier and sometimes they won't. Just try to be patient with it. Maybe I have to cut a little bit more. And that's why it helps to have it drier when you cut it. So see how it's all like junky in there a little bit? Not bad. You'll have to smooth it. That's why it would help to wait for your clay to be drier. Okay, so say you do have a little bit of funky edges, you can clean it up by just using your tool like this. Just like you're icing some cake. And take your tool and smooth those edges. And then you can always smooth these outside edges too. It'll look much better. Alright guys, I'm going to cut one more eye for you. Cutting straight down in. It's a little bit shaded right there. And the reason why it might have been hard to take the first eye out is I have pretty thick walls. So again, when you guys are building your pumpkin, you don't want your walls to be too thick. Yep, see, this one's going to have a hard time coming out too. That's alright, you can pull it out in pieces, but just be gentle so you have these clean lines over here. Yeah, my walls were too thick. Okay, see that one didn't even come out that good. So you guys you might have problems like this too, and that's fine. Just be patient, go slow, and see we'll have to clean that one up again.